So now I'm going to talk about the attributes of God in a little bit more depth, and I'm going to refer to a PowerPoint slide on a website called Slide Prayer that was titled "Why is Suffering a Problem for People Who Believe in God?" That was created by Emery Johns. And then I'm also going to refer to a YouTube video titled "How Do We Know the First Cause is God?", which is posted by Frank Turek on February 21st, 2019, and his YouTube channel is called Cross Examined. So if we look at that web, it shows that God is all powerful, all loving, all present, and all knowing. So God is an infinite being, and if he wasn't infinite, then he'd be lacking something, and if he lacks something, then he'd be finite. So could a finite being have created the world or universe? Well, maybe, but if that were the case, we'd be tracing back to what created that finite being, and then we'd be left with an uncomposed composer who would have had to create that finite being. So there needs to be an uncomposed composer who wasn't composed by anything else to create everything else that's composed of particles. And if God wasn't all loving, then he wouldn't be perfect. Oh, and when I say that a finite being lacks something, what I mean is that they lack something good. Like, say that God doesn't lack anything. It means he doesn't lack anything good. It means he doesn't lack anything good. But yeah. So if God is all loving, then he wouldn't be perfect, and he would lack something. So if God wasn't perfect, then he wouldn't have the authority or the right to judge human beings or to tell us what's right and wrong. And if he did, then that would be hypocrisy. So basically, it's impossible for God to not be all-knowing, all-loving, and all-powerful, because God is by definition all-powerful and an infinite being. It's like asking, can I go out into the sun during the summertime and not get hot? The answer is no, or because the sun is by definition hot. And then I also forgot to mention that God is also all present. So meaning God, or God's character, whatever, his abilities, they're present everywhere in the universe. And if they weren't present everywhere in the universe, that would imply that his power is also limited to wherever he's at in the universe. If his power is limited to wherever he's at in the universe, then that would also mean that he doesn't have control over everything. So now I'm going to talk about an argument against the existence of the Christian God using the, I think it's called the logical problem of eagle triangle or something along the lines of that. And I'm going to be referencing on two websites here. One of them is called Overview Does God Exist on a website called chartphilosophyalevel.com, as well as another article titled Logical Problem of Evil that's on the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy. So I guess if we're looking at this triangle, it appears to be an inconsistent triad. So on the left side of the triangle, it says God is omnipotent. Omnipotent means all powerful. So I think, so basically the claim goes like this. If God is all powerful, yet evil exists, and he doesn't stop it, then he must not be all powerful. And then we can argue the same thing with the right side. If a God is all loving, but he allows evil to exist, then therefore he's not all loving. Okay, so I know I'm supposed to try to avoid saying stuff along the lines of, well, I heard this from my friend or my parents or whoever it may be, but so what I'm about to say is I guess it's something that I kind of came up with. I came up with part of this on my own, but part of this is something that one of my friends has said, so I technically have to give him credit, so I'm not plagiarizing him. So his name is David Henderson, and well, we've had many conversations about this type of stuff before. I'm not going to repeat everything he said because some of this I don't really know what percentage of this stuff is stuff I thought about my own, but I'm just giving him credit so I don't plagiarize. But we've had different discussions at my house and probably at Chick-fil-A and in my backyard about this kind of stuff. So let's start here. So basically, okay, so if you look at the line that goes straight down under God's name, it says humans. So that shows that God created humans. And we can see that the attributes of humans are not all present, not all knowing, not all loving, or flawed, and we're not all powerful. So I'll start off with the first characteristic, so humans are flawed. Okay, so we make mistakes, we're not perfect, we do morally evil things naturally. Some people naturally, I would say we naturally care about ourselves, but that not everyone is like that. But everyone has their own thing that makes them flawed, whether it's lying, stealing, selfishness, murdering, I don't know, whatever it may be. Everyone has something that makes them morally evil. And even whether someone has done it once and never done it again, or it's a continuing practice for that person, both people are just as guilty as being flawed. So, people that are flawed are trying to judge a morally perfect being. And that just doesn't work. Like, how can we do stuff? Like, be more, like, not, like, be morally flawed, but then try and judge the morally superior being who knows what's right and wrong. It's perfect. And same with we're not all loving. So how are we going to judge an all loving God? How are we gonna judge God for not being all loving when we're not all loving ourselves? That seems like hypocrisy. Yeah, and humans are also not all knowing. God is. We don't know why God allows evil to occur, but God knows why He allows it to occur. So some people would say, since I don't know why God allows evil to exist, therefore He can't exist. Now, not everyone will phrase it like that. Some people would say, there is no way on earth God could allow evil to exist. But we don't know everything, but God does. So it doesn't make sense for for something with limited knowledge to judge something with all the knowledge, because he may be doing something, or he may be there's a lot of things we don't understand, so he may be allowing evil for a reason that we don't understand. Okay, so this is something I kind of thought of on my own. I don't know how true the statement is, but it's just an idea. I have an idea that people try and take attributes of God, or take God and attack him using the straw man fallacy, which I would hope I'm not doing right now with any of these arguments. But please forgive me if I am. Okay. So I think what people do is they take God and they take one of his characteristics, which is loving. But what they do is they misrepresent what it actually means to be loving. Because God's definition of what it means to be loving is a lot different than a human's definition of what it means to be loving. We may think and assume that God isn't all loving for allowing all these things to occur, but he's the ultimate judge in that, and he decides what's loving and what isn't, which I don't think we as humans have the right to define what's loving and what isn't. And I don't know if that's really a straw man fallacy, since they're not really attacking the argument. I don't know exactly what it would be called when you take an attribute of God and change it or misrepresent it to make it seem like something that it's not. I don't know. But the concept and the idea is pretty much the same.